Abortion. It's increasingly becoming a super non-issue in most parts of the globe. However, it still remains a hotly contested political issue in the US, and schools of thought tend to be simplified into either pro-choice or pro-life. Now, myself personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the term pro-life because it somehow implies that by virtue of supporting abortion, you're anti-life. And when you consider the fact that most lawmakers in the US that are pro-life are actively in bed with special interests such as Big Pharma or the NRA, both of which are lobbies that spend billions of dollars trying to actively roll back protections surrounding healthcare and the access to highly dangerous guns and firearms, both of which took the lives of roughly 70,000 Americans alone last year, the term pro-life becomes that much more ironic. However, as fun as engaging in rhetoric is, we here at A Whole Lotta Grey believing in changing people's minds through the use of hard facts, data, and evidence. So let's hope we can do that today. Which is why it's critical that proponents of abortion and people that are pro-choice understand one thing very, very clearly. If there's an individual who in their head believes that aborting a fetus in the womb is actually the same as murdering a human being outside the womb, there is no number of arguments involving a woman's choice, crime, or safety that's going to convince them, because they're just going to say a woman's choice, well, we don't allow women to pick up AK-47s and start shooting innocent people because that's murder, because in their head, aborting the fetus in the womb is actually the same as picking up an AK-47 and taking lives outside of it. So if we want to make a difference in this debate, I'm not saying those things don't matter. I'm not saying things like individual choice or safety or crime don't matter. I'm saying in order to make it a non-issue, you need to address the meat of the problem, which is the hard science, which is the fact that a fetus in the womb is not at all the same as a human life outside of it. Now, let's take a look at what Dr. Jerry Coyne, an expert in this very issue, he's one of the most renowned evolutionary science authors in the world and a professor at the University of Chicago. Here's what he has to say. So he says a person is not created at fertilization. Instead, you have a zygote that will now go on to continue development. Now, this zygote is an undifferentiated ball of cells without the ability to exercise mental activity, the ability to feel pain, and there's also no evidence that it has a soul. Also, there's absolutely nothing to suggest that this undifferentiated ball of cells is any different from the embryo of any other species. So let's take a step back and look at what he said. He said that at fertilization, you just have a zygote, so you don't have a person straight off the bat. Secondly, the zygote has no ability to feel pain, no soul, and no ability to exercise mental ability. In fact, there's nothing to suggest it's different from any other embryo on the planet. Now, whatever said and done, I think we can all agree that having a soul, the ability to feel pain, and exercising mental activity, these are three vital and key elements of the living human experience, all of which are things that a zygote is completely divorced from and has no understanding of whatsoever because it cannot experience any of those things. So now if opponents of abortion still want to reject the hard science on the matter and claim that this zygote, this fetus in the womb at any stage is the same as a human life outside the womb, then they have the burden to answer two key questions which I've heard almost nobody pose in this millennia-long debate. The first one being, if indeed life begins at conception, then everybody's birth certificates on the planet should say the day when they were conceived, right? It shouldn't talk about the day they came out the womb, which means all of us and everyone ever in human history has to subtract roughly 9 months from their birthday to get the truly accurate birthday, because life doesn't begin once you exit the womb, it begins at conception as per people that are pro-life. And second, perhaps more importantly, is we need to rethink the way we view population counts as well around the world. There aren't 8 billion people then in the world, right? Every single pregnant woman actually counts as double or triple or quadruple depending on how many fetuses she may be carrying. So unless these two things are given an explanation for, the term pro-life really has no water. And just remember that a zygote is not the same as a human being.